Salutations, y'all. Oop, howdies and salutations. Let's let the audio catch up first. How are y'all doing today? Hope it's been a good Tuesday so far. Let's see, interesting. Found another bot. Fascinating. But that's neither here nor there. What is here is another draw-in challenge today. We're still doing our time trials. I'm debating. I've been debating. I think I've made a decision properly. But I had been debating about whether or not we should start another one today. Because if I don't, then we could do the proper 4 hours on the next week, and that'll be fine. The main reason being, probably going to be a little bit of a long pause before my next stream. I need to check this in the Discord too, but because I've mentioned this a few times, but next week is when I'll be traveling. I might be able to do the Sunday morning stream, although it is not a given. I'm hoping we can, though. I'm hoping that we're starting something today, and we'll be wrapping it at the Sunday morning stream. Or at least making good headway, and then we do cleanup post-break or whatever, and that'll be a nice way to come back and do a mostly finished project. But we'll see. Because Monday and Tuesday are definitely out. Thursday next week also definitely out. Wish it wasn't the case, but it's what we've got to do. So it's what we're doing. Also, I need to do some audio adjustments with Spotify, I think. Something is a little... Well, no. It's OBS. I'm sure some of y'all, if you've streamed with OBS before, may have run into this. And I know there's a setting for it. I just need to go dig it out again and, read up how to do it. Basically, when I open OBS, it changes. I think it's the headset output, so that the audio quality changes for whatever I was listening to, even though the headset itself is the same. But opening OBS changes some internal setting, and so the quality drops. And I'm fine with a quality drop. I mean, especially when we were doing lo-fi, syncing that just leans into it more. However, I am slightly less fine with a volume drop. Because while the music may be fairly loud and audible to you, I can barely hear it. And it seems to be getting worse. So I'm going to leave it on for you guys. But, I'm getting borderline nothing out of that. I may as well not even be wearing my headphones at this point. Let's see here. So, today, I know we mentioned last time we were doing a speedrun because we didn't want to start something new, and because we were tired. And because mainly I didn't have things prepped for Pinterest. So, this is where I can be excited and say I actually managed to get things prepped for Pinterest. Say hello to the next character, Olivine, who I guess will be making this board public as of now. Cover ought to always be the color palette right now. I'd like to make that vertical again. But in any case, Olivine. A lot of pins in here. Not sure why they're all out in the open again. Not quite what I wanted. We definitely moved these into subcategories. So, anyway, shouldn't have clicked that. That's pretty neat, though. Nothing bad, lots of interesting poses. Well, Pinterest has been a nice resource. Okay, there we go. Organization is back. So, Olivine is another, not even a D&D character, an NPC who's never even been introduced in any of my campaigns, just been on the back burner. And is the other green character I mentioned, that we sort of built the color palette for yesterday. So, building on that, I've gathered a few other useful references, details, odds, and ends, and sorted them out. The challenge with Olivine is I can't seem to nail her personality down when I'm writing. What I want her to be is, sort of my goal is that Salt is... If y'all don't remember Salt, we'll have to come back to Salt sometime. Salt's a fun character too, who needs some design. Design is built, but needs some cleanup and tweaking, truth be told. Especially adjusting to new styles and change styles and all that jazz, because we haven't drawn Salt in a little while. This is supposed to be sort of a foil for Salt. Salt, chaotic excitement, Entrapta energy. Not Entrapped, but like the She-Ra character Entrapta. And then I'm trying to make Olivine something of a more Lawful-Good, stern, stubborn character, but still, like, you know, young and learning. And so I figured for Salt, for all of her alchemy chaos, Olivine ought to be a little more proper traditional knight, not quite paladin level, but, you know, building that way. But definitely, like, kind of flat-footed. So, that's sort of what I'm trying to build into with this character. Also known as how I actually play games. But I like Olivine. I like the green to counter Salt's red. I think it'll be a fun color combo. They'll work well together. I like the mineral theme. So, first off, gotta look for some poses. I'm trying to look for ones that are, like, not as confident. For the record, I'm going for a spear and shield type deal. For Olivine, at least at first. And ready to fight, or ready... easily angered, perhaps. So we'll see. But, still trying to figure out all the details of how that's gonna go well. But anyway, looking at these poses, we got a few gathered in here. I like this one because it's more wary. I like this one because it emphasizes the shield, and having a spear behind would be good. I like this one because... I mean, it's still a stable pose, but it's definitely a leaning back defending pose, or being pushed back even a little bit pose, as opposed to some of the other ones that are more confident and competent. Interesting poses here. I didn't realize this was a pose set. Cool. Anyway, I like this one. I like the idea of being a little bit nervous and, like, new to all this. And I like this one because it's an overconfident pose, but it is also very much a, if you were holding a shield and a sword and a spear, this would be a very stupid pose. So I kind of like the idea of brain beelines to fighting, but not how. But I think the shield would probably obscure the face in most views with that. So, just things to think about. Obviously, as we get to them, we've got some weapon and shield references. Not a ton on the spear. Sorry about that. Not a ton on the spear, but, you know, I figure that's one that we can sort of wing it and have some fun creating, like coming up with something brand new a little more. And I've got some headwear and stuff in mind. We'll see how it translates. I don't know how far we're going to get into line work, where the really details of that would get worked out. Totally forgot that she's got, like, a really distinctive helm. I've tried sketching and designing Olivine before. Actually, on the Elden Ring playthrough where I finally beat the game, I tried to make the character as sort of like an early, like, playing around with designs for Olivine. It's nothing like what I would lean towards anymore, but it's kind of funny. Like, technically Olivine is the character I beat Elden Ring with. I gotta do some art of Din on stream sometime. Din was my old Dark Souls 3 character that finally got to the end. Din was fun. More importantly, Din, well, two things. Name loosely based on Dinadan, personality fairly nondescript, it was still just Dark Souls. But it was meant to be a silly character. I had a main playthrough, and then I was like, I'm gonna make a side playthrough to play through with my brother. And my main playthrough, I finally got to Irithyll and was just like, this is stinking awful, and I stopped for like 2 years. So this side one I made way later just to play with my brother and be like, I'll play with you, you know, maybe multiplayer will be different. And then he got tired of the game pretty quick, but I ended up following that one all the way to the end. So, that's fun. It's been a long time since I've drawn Din. Din was like my first proper drawing OC, just because I had something to go off of and I didn't have to get bogged down in character design when I was trying to learn other basics. Din was fun. I mean, that's assuming that we're not counting all of the old, like, old fandom OCs, but those are like 10 years old, and I think we won't be listing them right now. Those, well, I do have an old Tumblr, but ain't none of y'all finding that. I hope. Not in this name, that's for sure. An old. But it is still up. If anyone ever finds it, good luck. Please don't. But in the meantime, this is what we got for refs. I got some interesting headwear options. I don't have much in the sort of vibe or personality section, because that's the part that I'm struggling the most to nail down. In any case, it's not like the other one vibe. The other one did have some personality, but it was literally just the reference of Robin from Welcome to Demon School Iruma-kun. Who is a fun character. I quite like Robin. I'm trying to think of where Olivine would fall. I don't think anyone in that show. Probably the closest would be their main teacher, but I don't think it'd quite fit. He's much too stern and mean. I love him. He's great. He's very fun. Caligo is fun, but probably not a match for Olivine. So anyway, this is sort of the refs we'll be working with. As always, if you want to follow along and sort of see what we're looking at in each section, this is public on the Pinterest. If you haven't checked it out, you can go to sifamir.com or any of the social links and see all of the different social medias. Just got to throw that pitch out there again because it's been a week. We got all this stuff going on here. Any schedule updates will be in here. Obviously, you can join the Discord, but we've got the Pinterest right here where you can see everything. Interesting that the other one I uploaded doesn't count as created because I just saved it directly. I need to fix the... Oh, yeah, I've got a whole bunch of various references. Nothing embarrassing, just old ones. Trying to come up with stuff. I'm trying to do face practice, especially for these characters like Salt and Olivine and Sifamir. So we'll see on those. Oh, hey! Welcome back! We were just digging through references at one point before we got started on another character. How are you doing? Anyway, let's see. That's what we got for Olivine. Sorry, you ran right into my sales pitch. Hey, good for you. Let's see. I say sales pitch. I make no money on this. It's just for fun. Yeah. Taking breaks. That's a smart thing to do. That I should do more. Ought to throw just a break timer or something in here at some point. Oh dear. Just realized it says 5 pins over in the corner of the screen. Yeah, we'll fix that. Well, happy to have you on your break. Thanks for dropping in. Let me do a little bit of stream setup fixing. And it really wants to show off Pinterest instead of anything else. Okay, we're just gonna start a new one for that, I think. Oh, it's because that's for the audio capture, not the visual. Okay. Got it. Cool. Now we can fix the layout just a little bit. And then we're going to jump in here. This one won't be quite as strict of a timer as the last few. We can keep that going on there at least. We'll start off with 15 minutes for just posing and getting proportions and such worked out. I think that worked well last time, so we'll do it again. And as we learned while drawing Cypus's art, or fan art, it's worth doing a little more proportion planning in advance, which is one of those lessons that, you know, you learn it 10 times, then you forget it an 11th time, and you're like, okay, we're going to go back and actually do that. So, yeah. I'll try to get a little more in the way of actual brain going into this one. But, just as a reminder, we got our pose refs over on Pinterest if you're interested. Going for something a little less confident. So we'll see what we can work with on this one. Should be fun. Let me make sure I've got pen in hand. And we will kick that timer off. Boom. 14 minutes. You should probably be able to say that. Yeah, there we go. That's better. Not just ominous 14 until it ticks down. Well, that wouldn't be a bad timer either, actually. Okay, now for the excitement. This is not the right color palette at all. I didn't add Olivine's color palette. That's fine. We'll go back to our default pencil. It is 68, 68, 68. It's a nice tone. Cool. Start a little bit zoomed in. And looking at this pose, okay, no, hold on. Thinking about the shoulder angle, shoulders are more like this. Vertical line of action's more like that, but we'll chill on the line of action a little bit because I think the weapon's going to define the ultimate, like, actual lines in the pose a little more. Okay, a little longer there. Thinking about where the hips relative to the shoulders. Shoulders are slanted slightly that distance. Hips are a little bit more level, so we'll lean into it a little more to make the pose more exciting. Well, after all, gotta keep things a little more dynamic in here. Okay, and then thinking about where the arms are gonna land, I'm mainly going off of this pose right now. I think it's been a pretty good one. We're gonna tweak it for the different setup and a little bit for angle and such. It'd be fun though. We've got that central point. The body mass is in a second. We're just stick figuring this out first. I like the idea of like holding the shield a little more forward and having the spear more at the back at the ready. I guess typically you'd have your weapon in your dominant hand, so maybe that means Olivine's left-handed, or we just invert the photo. We'll see. I'm a big fan of what I call dynamic character creation, which is a fancy way of saying sort of making it up as I go along, but I like to have stuff prepped. The details are more fun when you let the weird little quirks that come out while drawing, like, actually be things. Like Sif's hand the other day. I kind of like the idea of a glove, and that's going to be incorporated as part of the outfit. Different tweaks of hair, different little things. It adds little details that I wouldn't be able to just think up immediately on my own. So I think it's fun. Okay, we'll keep going with this. And how are we doing on time? 11:50. Cool, 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 cool. Definitely, totally enough. Not going to be a problem at all. Just kind of a loose head shape in there. Think about where it's lining up, because I do actually care about that at this phase. A little easier to move it right now. Thinking about where the collar is. Really, this should be more forward. Back of the neck should be leaning more back. Cool. Quarter view, that's how I like it. Well, we'll do more practice on a front view later. Maybe I'll dedicate a whole stream to that. Or some of my offline time. It'd be worth doing. That's pose one. We'll get a sort of secondary pose refinement. That's not the right name for it, but I'm on a timer and I'm not going to bother fixing the exact name. What I care about right now with this, let's see. Yeah, that's real faint on stream. I need to, like, since we're using the pen very lightly, maybe we need a darker color for it. Lean into a full black for now. Is that? Yeah, that should be a little more visible. Cool. We'll do that for this next layer. Next layer, we'll see about actually getting proper body forms in here and all of that jazz. This whole hand would be much longer, but half hand wrapped around something can still be shorter. Let's think about general pose. Where's the bend gonna be? Where's the fold? Where's the stretch? Okay. You're leaning back like that. Yeah, okay. So this side's going to be more smooth. This side's going to be the one where we've got like a little more counter motion going. Cool. Obviously, you can actually try to follow the rib cage somewhat. We're at a slight side view though, so that is going to complicate it a little bit. Where that center line's going to actually land on the surface rather than just through the middle and on the back. Probably taper some of that in a little bit, but I don't want to go too much in. Partly because, you know, I want to account for fluff and armor and layers and stuff. And partly because a character that's fighting like this is going to have a little more muscle built up and that'll show up. So need to do a little more in the way of just proper like gesture practice and stuff, but this'll do for now. Kind of a nice side view here. Feet are always a little bigger than they seem at first glance. Think about legs are probably a little too spread out. We'll tweak that. One kneecap is going to be more facing us, so we'll just have very slight beveling in. Lean out a little more on that. But even yeah, I don't think in the whole of the pose the foot should be facing inward like that. Let's not have the heel be visible on that side. A little exaggeration, but I mean it'll be closer to the camera, so by way of foreshortening and perspective and all that, that should be sizable. Stinking arms. I do not have a good, like, simple way to just think out what the arm should look like in given poses. I don't have a good, like, mental structure for that. It's something I need to work on. Something I've worked on before, and that's what's gotten us to this point. But we always have time for refinement. Except when we don't, because we have less than 8 minutes left. But that's okay. We're getting a fair bit done even in this little pose section. So use the line tool to our advantage for just a second. We'll keep it at 1 pixel, keep it fairly basic. It makes sense that the spear is on this side of the shield. Oops, I love these vector tools. But that doesn't make it, that angle doesn't really make a ton of sense. This pose. See, if you had that in your arm and you were just sort of leaning back, worried about an enemy, still, I guess you could have it poised under the shield. It seems like you could do an upward thrust motion, I suppose. Not so much a vertical one over it easily. But we could have it sort of at the ready like this, perhaps. Well, it doesn't fit well with the rest of our action and motion of this pose. Not the worst, but it could be better. Since this is the posing phase, now's the time to mess with it. Assuming the enemy, presumably, is somewhere this direction. Somewhere that way. Then... maybe a little more up. Okay, I gotta stop with the perspective arrows. I like them, but they're distracting. Okay. The spear should go. If it's there... Oh, maybe that's the issue. What we really need to be having. More of something... much shorter on this end, too. The reason it being shorter is that it's pointed more at us. Somewhere a little more directly towards the viewer, so we'd have foreshortening on the spear. 4 minutes, 52 seconds. Whoa, we got left on that. Let's find out. We're in a little on this. I'm gonna try not to get too hung up on the spear. Believe it or not, it's not the main focal point. It just borderline facing us. Now, there's degrees of this. We'll figure out what we want to do with that a little bit. Happy with leaving some of the spear post tweaking towards the end, because we got to figure out the shield too. I think a little bit of the curve being visible on the back. Going for something more like a kite shield, but I want one with a more flat, rounded bottom rather than a major point. Trying to keep with some consistent shape language on this character, which is not something I've ever been particularly good at, but that's why we practice it. I'm trying to avoid, other than the spear itself, I don't want anything too sharp in this character design. More rounded, steady, stable, to help contrast with once we finally get Salt going. Because Salt is, you know, chaotic and bouncy and probably dangerous. I like Salt. Salt's a fun character. I like Olivine too. We can do the obvious metal banding. Meh. That's not a detail that needs to be worked out at this phase necessarily. Chevrons are always good for showing the curvature on stuff. Fan of that. Better job of it. Cool. We'll start with that. Try to get some face posing. I feel like on one hand it's good for the... I know. Because I feel like this character's like on the younger end of things, so I don't necessarily need to be using like the full like 8 heads proportions. But let's... I was gonna say proportionally make the legs smaller, but let's actually just make everything else a little bit larger. So that relatively the legs will be smaller, but we'll still have the dynamic posing. Oh, this has done terrible, terrible things to the spear. Oh well. Okay, we'll start with that. Torso feels just a little bit too short. Oh, right, because I've sort of blended the hips into the legs. Torso may still be a little bit too short. We did mention that one of these legs was too far over. That's probably part of it, is that it's connecting as though at a different part. So let's do that. A little more course correction on there. And then we'll think about the face. Which, oh, that's part of the short feeling too, is because we enlarged everything else. Oh, we got 36 seconds left. Lovely. Human heads are always much more weirdly shaped than I expect. Blob in the back that I just never remember to account for. I say this as though my own head doesn't also do that, but with the being a human and all. But, you know. Okay, that was our whistle. I'm going to stop chucking lines on the face, and we'll see where we're at 15 minutes with just a little bit of posing. The initial pose, we've got ourselves something of an actual proportion guide. Cool, I'm liking that. Now's the hard part, because now's where we get to do the, you know, actual sketch at some point. Ourselves a little more time for that. Cypus, I hope this has been a good break. Okay. Poses. 2, 5, 4. There we go. Yeah, we'll just keep on plugging forward on this one, I think. No reason to hold off. We'll talk about more of the actual, like, sort of character's design once we're into it. We'll see if we use the whole 45 minutes too. I've definitely been getting quicker at throwing these down and getting them in place. Bit by bit. And it's not 45 minutes, it was an hour, so maybe we'll keep it to 45 minutes. Who knows? But let's see. Skipping away from the pose references and into a few of the others on the Pinterest, just in this very quick little interim. I will walk us through a little bit about what we're coming up to, and then we'll see where we land. Main armor, I'm thinking mainly Gambeson. For those not familiar, that's the fancy term for the cloth armor that you see so much. This one's... I mean, this one's definitely a fashion choice more than an actual armor choice. But, you know, they're around. They're fun. Working on making one. I need to get around to that at some point. Main thing being it's just cloth padding with a little bit of stuffing. Not the great at piercing attacks, but not bad at stop slashes and such. And certainly good to lessen just the impact of blows. Still probably wear this stuff under proper armor. Or frequently over chainmail in like the 13th century when we're sort of looking for these character designs. What I really like for fantasy stuff, and a little bit realistic, but mostly fantasy ones that's fun, is I like these asymmetrical ones. This one's very neat because you've sort of got different materials going on in here in different patterns. The color scheme's very like academic moonlit night or something like that. I don't know if that makes any sense to anyone but me. That's the vibe I got from it. I like this one too because the asymmetrical lower part gives it a very unique shape. It's very fun. Probably not realistic or practical, but fun. Holy cow, is that... Okay, no. It looks a lot like one of the ones from Elden Ring, but that's just an actual, you know... actual heraldry. Which, for the record, Olivine's heraldry is far from finished, so we're still going to be working on that at some point. Other things with the Gambeson, just to keep an eye out for. I just like this general character design and the colors. Let's see, other things. We've got... This is an example of some old, actual, historical Gambeson patterns, so they could get pretty out there too. I've also grabbed a little bit, now, for context, we're definitely not drawing this out in full detail. I don't have 37 hours, I don't think y'all do either. However, seeing them in patterns like this can give us some idea of what we're dealing with if we want to try to just imply that it's there, with like some simple shapes and such. I will be following the long historical tradition of not drawing out every single piece of chainmail. Artists in the 1300s did not bother, and I will continue to not bother. Maybe we make a custom brush for it someday, but not right now. The other thing that's fun is this also has some more like modern experimental like interlocking patterns. I like this one. They're fun. This one's very cool looking. And hexagons. Always with the hexagons. Gotta love hexagons. Tessellate so nicely. Yeah, a couple options for that. Okay. Actual historical etchings. You can see they just chucked a bunch of dents in it. They didn't actually try to etch everything out. Still looks great though. They got the look and the feel of it across. That's the important bit. let's see. Yeah, I think that's about it. We'll have a little bit of plate mail up towards the top on shoulder. Maybe around the chest area. This one's... I like this one. Simple and effective. Let's see. Beyond the armor, of course, will also be, as we do this sketching period, taking on shield and spear just a little bit. I grabbed some boot references, mainly just because I like the side entry. That's actually historically very much a thing, where it was laced up along the full edge of the shoe, which was fun. Opinion. Shield, I mean, you've already seen we're just sort of leaning into a broad kite shield rather than some of the earlier ones. May do some fun detailing with the top, we'll see. A lot of this is we'll see, because as you've seen, I'm trying to sort of do the designing as we go. But yeah, this is just, the weapon category is just a mess. There's not much of use there. And then headwear. Got some interesting ones from various periods. I've got an old one for Olivine already, from way back in the day, that was just doodling and not based on anything real. And so I'm going to try to sort of work between that and something that's actually real. Or at least believable. So yeah, that's sort of what we're leaning into for this next one. And I think we're just gonna keep on keeping on with it. Take those sips of water if you need them. A quick little reset to get ready, and then we will jump right in. I say, sounding like, I don't know, a children's television host or something. No matter. We'll keep on plugging. So, our hidden the pencil is ready. Let's get an actual sketch going in here. Sketch layer established. And timer started. Y'all see that up top? Perfect. You know what we need to do? I've just realized, now that we're starting to, we've revamped social media, we're going to try to get some more people in here. What on earth is with the shoulder? We'll fix the shoulders. Okay. They look like a thinking Bloodborne enemy. That's fine. Let's see, that shows up on stream. Okay, good. Good. But I've realized we don't have any stinking emotes. I'm not sure I can even get emotes yet until we get, you know, the more consistent stuff and eventually move up to, more of a full-time streamer. But, you know, we'll see. Certainly love to draw some. We can at least get them in the Discord. Why wait for Twitch affiliate when you can just make your own already? Okay, looking at our gambesons, I'm actually going to spend a little bit of time off to the side just thinking it through real quick. I like the idea of having something that does join in the front, gives a little more texture to the design. I like the idea of these sort of asymmetrical overlaps, but I also want to make sure that if we've got a belt in the middle, we've got reasonable mobility on this lower section. We don't want to be actually obscuring the ability to move, or else that's really going to be kind of a terrible design. Very cool looking until you die. That's what I'm trying to think out, because those very cool looking ones we saw also, well, I mean, they had splits, but they were going to cause some level of issue. You know, I talked a lot about hexagons earlier. Let's think in terms of hexagons. Let's see, again, I want more rounded and solid shape language with this one. Don't want anything too sharp. What if we go for a leaf pattern? I mean, I know that doesn't fit the Olivine mineral theme so much, but it does fit the color scheme fairly well. Would keep something that's both dynamic and fairly rounded. We'll limit the flare on that a little bit. Sort of think of these petals on a flower that's opening up or something like that. I don't know. Maybe I've been spending too much time in the garden. Extra layer in there, though. That's kind of... Oh, with asymmetrical layers, too. We'll have 3. You can get a different color accent going on that or something. It'll be fun. See if I'd just gone and drawn a plain old Gambus and we wouldn't have gotten that excitement. Would have been faster, though. Oh, did our timer freeze up? I don't think it's actually paused. It's just not showing on the stream. Yeah, there we go. 56:34. Is it? Oh, okay. I don't know what causes it to sometimes not do that right. Interesting. Well, let's see. We'll have Gambuson and then proper pants. We already saw boots and stuff, so we'll work on that. Let's think about the Gambuson in terms of this and in terms of probably some chainmail below it. Curved. Comes around this way. Not do whatever these shoulders are doing. But besides scaring me, is not very great. Have it kind of puff up over the shoulder. That'll still work. Contour to actually sort of follow them normally. Nothing too sharp on it. We get pulled in at the belt a little bit, though. Kind of what the belt's there for, after all. We'll have another one sort of out there. Then, like we saw, we've got this third sort of bonus one that comes down. Gonna get in the way a little bit? Yeah, probably. But I think it's a nice mix between practical and fun looking. Hey, Dado! How are you? We're doing another timed character design, although this one's got a little more actual design. Getting a little too sketchy on these lines. Let's try to get something cleaner. But yeah, no, we're actually going to try to get as far as we can on Olivine. Ah, snacks. Always tempting. Sometimes worth it. Glad to hear you're doing okay, though. I mean, I know it's not been a lot of time since we last talked about shows, but I've been binging Cowboy Bebop, and wow, that there's a lot more going on that show than it initially lets on. I'll just say that. It has really hooked me. Oh yeah, of course, birthday coming up, just round the corner. Have some birthday celebrations. Yeah, I mean, I watched it, well, honestly, I'd heard it was a classic, but that's usually not enough to get me to watch a show, because sometimes stuff is classic because it's good, sometimes it's classic because it's not good, but it, you know, had a reaction with people 50 years ago. But this one seems to be well done. But I really got into it for the music. And the music is on point. It's very good. Oh, how is Fire Force? I had a friend recommend that. I need to... It's been on my sort of maybe ought to watch this at some point list. Let's see. Sleeves go on Gambusons. They usually have sleeves, right? Sometimes. Oh, it sounds awesome. I don't know what Twitch is trying to censor there. It's not telling me anything. It's just asterisking. Oh, or is that just the correction from Fleece to Forest? I don't know. Fire Fleece sounds like it'd be a heck of an adventure too. Probably not. Okay, cool. Wanted to make sure Twitch wasn't doing nonsense to you. Let's square off those edges a little bit. Shield on that side. I do want something of a pauldron on this side. Try not to do anything too crazy with it, though. Like me a good pauldron. At the right bend point. I don't know what happened to our default arms. I wish we had not gotten those quite as messed up as they did get. Unfortunate. Legs still turned out like they should be fine, though. A little bit of chainmail going there. Yeah, tortilla chips, they're good, but they really add up, don't they? Cheapers. This was during college at the height of like stress crunch weeks. Sometimes I would just get like tortilla chips and a block of cheese, and I had a cheese knife that was shaped like an axe for reasons. And I would just sit there and like chop sections off and then just go nuts on cheese and chips and eat a whole block of cheese. I don't recommend it. It's not a good idea. Don't take snacking advice from me. It's all bad advice. All of it. 100% terrible. Yeah, it was... Because every time that I started to get tired of cheese, I'd be like, oh, but the novelty of cutting it... It's fun with an axe. It makes the cutting itself fun, and then you've got cheese, and you're like, well, I guess I have to eat this. It's bad choices. Do not recommend. I mean, 10 out of 10, it was awesome until the next day. Then it was not 10 out of 10. Not at all. Yeah. It was... Those were stressful times. I'm glad I'm no longer in those times. Punching should be in the back. If anything, it's going to be stretching in the front. On that side. Cool. Yeah, I mean, any activity is better than none, as they say. I've started trying to go out for just daily walks, because obviously streaming is not great for exercise or posture, but my day job is a desk job, so that's also not great for exercise or posture, and I'm sitting at a computer like 12 hours a day. So yeah, it's like, okay, exercise is it's not really optional anymore. I've just got to do it. Become non-negotiable. Fine. Cool. That's smart. Yeah, stretching is also really good. It definitely pays off. See, trying to think, and you know, it depends on where you are. I've gotten lucky that I've got some decent neighbors, so it's been kind of nice having an excuse to go say hi to them just as I walk by. But not everywhere is that always going to be viable. Okay. An interesting strap system that's not just like crazy and awful. That's where the leg is. Folds can't really go inside the leg. I guess that's not where the leg is. Well, anyway. That upper one, we'll just clean that up a little bit. Clean up a little bit in here. Hierarchy. More obvious. How are we doing on time? 45. Cool. We're probably going to use most of that. Much as I'd like to be a little faster, we're chipping away at this, but there's a few things that are just going to take a little time. That's the other thing I didn't really check on the armor, is the actual patterns on the gambesons themselves, which of course vary. But I am a fan of the one where we've actually got, you know, noticeably different patterns going on. This one, like, a little more of a border. Perhaps the more traditional. We'll have to add some so that we're actually curving these a little bit in line with the actual shape of the person and with the folds of the fabric. But a lot of them have a very nice sort of cross-section deal going here. I'm blanking on the word argyle. I wanted argyle. It's not really argyle, but I want it to be. And for this one, we can do something a little different. Just do vertical stripes. We could do actual, like, curves. Of course, when we're doing the inking phase, I'm going to curse this concept so much. Which will probably be a similar deal, but down below. So it's sort of got the decorative one and then actual practical padding. Which, if this one's the decorative one, we can have some more fun with it. Like, just squares in here is probably not the best. I'm trying to think, I mean, I like triangles or even circles or something. Well, we'll figure something out. Because, you know, I'd really like some, like, crazy pattern. Doesn't have to be on all of them. Alright, something like that. Just really give it some pop. Haven't really figured out the proper gambeson sleeves. I mean, we're definitely going to aim for a pauldron on the top right, which we paused on because the shoulders are stinking weird. I messed that up in the pose. I think I messed it up in the resize, but it may have just been from the get-go. Still, generally speaking, Gambison would have really thick, puffy shoulder sections. They tend to be, really thick and puffy. I may lean more into being extended just out towards the shield. Like the elbow won't even necessarily be fully visible. Well, let's see. Do we continue this pattern across it, or do we not? I'm kind of tempted to say we could make this a proper seam. Have loops. Or have like a little bit of a carryover on this, since we won't have a pauldron on this side. We can make this somewhat rounded out. Like sort of having a proper edge to it. Even get like a proper border on it. Don't erase the wrong line. And then yeah, this part could just be like sleeve, much like the pants then at that point. Okay, just forget this edge of the arm. Have much more of a down bag. Nope, that's definitely, that looked like it cut into the arm. Trying to figure out how to make it where it doesn't look like the arm giant, but we're just getting some of the bagginess on it. 40 minutes. Cool. That's actually not terrible compared to where we were 5 minutes ago. We'll start with something basic like that. I think during the inking we're going to have to tweak it. Nope. Wrong hotkey. I will leave it at that. That for now. That feels better. Cool. We'll start with that. Over on here on this side's just a hair more complicated. Partly because it makes sense to have actual glove. Specifically on this arm, but we're going for not too much in the way of like heavy plate armor. We really just got the pauldron going on right now. So we may stick to this being more of a leather thing. We got a hand reference. Ah, well. From our angle, we'd be roughly level with it. We don't really have a perspective vanishing point line on this, but okay, we're above the waist. Doesn't necessarily say much about this arm, but it's enough of a reference point to work off of. To give it a little bit of a woven look, like we didn't have full pieces. That's fine. Gripping hands not so hard. Just this bit. This bit right here. Oh, there's so much left to do. But feet, those shoes are cool. I'm fine with those shoes. Face, on the other hand, we'll just sort of see what happens. All of this. That flares too much. But this shoulder's just garbo, so. Okay. With something slightly less horrible. Trying for like slightly simpler, larger straps right now. We'll see how that goes. I like the puffiness of a good gambeson. It's fun. Never seemed to. It's been a long time since I've actually tried to draw gauntlets like this. Not that this is gauntlet, this is a pauldron. No, it just doesn't seem to go down all that far, which is it. A bad elbow. Things to resolve on the Sunday stream, I suppose. I like that the joint kind of works a little bit as a reflection, or at least a reminder to add a reflection. Okay, things still to go. Shield. I actually had a reference I wanted to draw on a little of this. It wasn't a shield, it was meant to be a spear point, but I think I liked it better as a shield. Let's see. Oh, Rohirrim shields. Cool, Lord of the Rings. Yeah, have a good one, Dado. Thanks. Yeah, we'll share this one once it's done. We'll see what happens. Oh, right, no, it was shields to use as spear points, not the other way around. Well, shield, 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 shield. Gotta love a good shield. Yeah, have a good one. Thank you for dropping by. It's always fun to see you. Or at least hear from you. I was too angry right now. We'll figure out an actual proper sort of crest later. That doesn't have to be the detailing on this. Something for the inking phase, methinks. You Sunday me thinking, complaining about the having to figure out a crest on top of all of the other stuff. Well, we got 33 minutes left. We got other stuff we have to work on, so we'll stick to our chevron for now. That out. Oh, I like that. Cool, there we go. That's something to work with at least. And the joy of the spear. That I'm going to cheat at it again. Right now I actually want a fairly plain spear, because this is a character that I'd like to sort of show character growth through the weapons. And I'd like this to be one of those things where I want the character to loosen up a little bit, and to learn how to do that, and with that we'll get weapons that are a little less steady and stoic and a little more agile, so to speak. But we'll see. Nice line here. Send it out. I'm just hitting every line except the one I want to. There we go. Leave those parts alone. Okay. I want something comical like the Undyne Spear. What I'd actually like is something that is still going back to that shields that look like swords thing. Or spears. Man, I'm getting it brained. Cool. Now what we should be doing for this, something we don't do much. Symmetry ruler. Woo! Breaking out the fun tools. There you go. It gives us a point, but it still keeps a fairly rounded flare. Something fairly simple. Let's see, what would be some other stuff? Because unfortunately the spear looks crazy short because I'm trying to get it somewhat foreshortened, but we're not in an angle where that shows well. So I methinks, let's... Jeepers. That's going to complicate this somewhat. Oh, come on, don't crash from the terrible math I was asking of you. Thank you. Let's just refresh that whole stinking spear line at this point. Well, we've got the parallel ruler going. Clean this up a little bit. Oh, jeepers. 29 minutes. We're officially just past the halfway mark on this one. Spending a little more time on it. That's on the other layer. Cool. Always twisting them over the symmetry line is always fun, but not for this particular project. Okay, sort of. The ruler, nice. Make this a little more sizable. Not that much. Clean up some of this. Oh, there's a lot of lines there. Okay. Not the tail, but the actual thing. There we go. Continuing this. Okay. I'm gonna start with that. We can always add more details like a pattern spiraling around it or such with time. We'll sort of see what we end up going for. I kind of like the idea of crisscrossing to match this. If instead of that we went with half circles. Feels more like her. We will keep up with that. Clear out straight lines on here so we've got something simple. Try to make it sort of parallel the spear pattern if we wanted. I don't know that we want to do that though. Okay, I'm gonna want to simplify this so much. Still got bad arm. Curse you, bad arm. That one? Okay. I'm gonna check against our pose ref real quick, just sort of see how we're aligning against that as things have shifted around a little bit. Spear is angled a little low. And I feel like the shield should be angled a little more up. Which is, of course, going to mess with the spear. That's just, we're gonna have to deal with that. That's what the sketch phase is for. This kind of nonsense. Lose the pose for a second. Wanted it really like pressed. I'd probably have to change the arm a little bit too. That's okay. Hold on. Yeah, we can just continue with this one. I will lose some of our detail, but not all of it. Have to lose the bits of the spear that are crossing through here, though. But you know, sometimes it's worth going through the hassle of making a change. In art and in life. Sketch layer, I'm not going to care too much about this, so that we can move on. And the spear should be in front of the shield, though, shouldn't it? Unless the shield has a specific hole for it, which would not make any sense. Set up anyway. Let's keep on keeping on with this. Doop. Doop. More of other stuff will be visible. Fine. Anyway, I like the idea of something that you press this against up here. I don't know that that'd be practical at all, but, you know, be a thing. And now with 22 minutes remaining, we get to the exciting part. And by that, I mean I'm going to delay on the face, and we're going to do a little bit with chainmail. Woohoo! ain't nobody want to draw the face. Though we are actually going to use face references this time, so that should be a lot less bad. I'm still gathering good Mikola face references, given that Mikola's face basically doesn't appear in the game except on a fairly low detail statue. So, we'll see on that. First chainmail. Oh, and headwear. I forgot. Olivine's got cool headwear that I'm going to have to work on in a comparatively short amount of time, as it turns out. Should not have put that off till the end. Let's see. On the one hand, I want a cool pattern here. On the other hand, it's something I'm going to have to replicate repeatedly. It's somewhat simple, but still more unique than just loops or texture. That'll do. Edge of the glove starting to show there. Okay. Now, still got a pose face. I feel isn't tilted right. Good. Well, let's start with this. Let's actually start with a face with the face references open. Pinterest, work with me here. 18 minutes to go, and we still need a face. Like this. Be a good starting point. I think it's actually a Pinterest ad for a headband, but you know what? Got a face in it, and a face we can use. Although admittedly a face at a different angle from what I'm currently seeing, so that will make things complicated. There we go. Keep that angled a little more over. As always, the brow line. I won't have that much detail on the actual like eye and such later. It should really visibly curve in over here. I always get the cheekbone at slightly the wrong place, so that's something I'm gonna have to work on. Here should probably be a little higher where we're at, but that's okay. Mainly because the ear is also important for the actual headwear piece that we'll be looking at. It is weirdly headbandy, but not related to this reference. I need a more angry eyebrow pose. Darn it, all my eyebrows are skeptical because I always get the endpoints inverted. Tell some I've gone over something too much when we start getting the black pixels in there. Eesh. definitely going to tweak the mouth because that's not at all what I really am aiming for. But it's at least something we can work with in terms of alignment and such. Makes me realize that some parts of the face are too small though. Or that the chin is just a little too far down. Especially if we're talking kid like not kid, but younger proportions. Like that's too reduced. Hold on. Angles of the outer one are good. Not quite in the right place. I'm gonna try to follow those a little softer. Of course, that means we're gonna have to proportionally also shrink the rest of the head. Probably scale it up at the end, but that's okay. I am fine, absolutely fine with having to work on that. Okay. Or go at it with this and see where we get. I need that at a different angle. Cool. You should probably actually line up with the eyes. Just a little bit. A sort of visor-like I'm going for with this. By visor-like feel, I mean I'd like it to work as a visor. That's gotta have a lot more, actually. Much. A little bit more there. Give this a little texture with the hair, but mostly I actually want to just give it kind of like a little bit of a pattern. I did grab some of those on Pinterest. So nice having ideas just in like one place instead of strewn about madly. Interesting. I will see on this. Just sort of something to have a pattern in here. We're at 12 minutes left, right? Yeah. See this without the post layer lines in the background. Yeah, I thought the neck was still like a little bit off. Obviously, we'll have to fix how it aligns with the rest of the head, but that's less of the... Always, the second pupil always goes to crazy pupil. Out of alignment, it just doesn't work. way of bang, there would still be some loose fabric serving a similar purpose. There we go, that's better. Resize the face or something at some point? I feel like some stuff is off from where I left it. Maybe I just accidentally erased some lines and didn't realize. Huh. Definitely got like too much detail happening in this section. That's fine, that's something that can be tweaked. First off, we got the rest of stuff drawn. Mostly-ish, yes, good. And let's keep working on the face and making it actually fit everything else. For starters, as always, make it bigger. Always manage to get that just a little bit off. Mainly because I tweak where facial features are, and then that impact. Oh dear. Okay, good. It didn't stay fuzzy. I want a leaning counter to everything and blocking. Size it up a little. Well, not that much. Okay. Hair's giving me Kakyoin vibes. Smaller face, I think the ear's a little bit too far back, which is bad because it's a focal point for like a ton of stuff. Have to readjust. But better to readjust it than to leave it bad, you know? Yeah, this looks super stiff, which admittedly a Gambeson should, but the upper body, I'm gonna want to do some adjusting on that. Fortunately, I mean, unfortunately for the stream, but fortunately for me, we're gonna have a little bit of time before the next streams, which means that I'll have time to prep, and I mean that unironically this time, where I say it and then nothing happens. I actually think I'll have time to prep. It'd be nice. I like this mask. I don't know where, if the idea just came to me or if that's like looks like something else. It feels original, but it also gives me vague like Miyazaki vibes, so I don't think it's original. Or at least not fully original. Yeah. Obviously, everything's sort of inspired by other things to an extent. I still think it's original enough that it's fine. But I don't think I didn't directly copy it from anything. I don't know. I don't know if you've had those moments where you think you've got something brand new and creative, and then you realize that you're remembering something rather than coming up with new thoughts. Like, for the life of me, I thought that I had actually come up with a decent tune, because I'd just been messing around humming. I was like, oh, I think I've got a decent idea. And then like 3 weeks later, I realized it was stinking Old Town Road. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I was just a much, much slower version. So I was like, oh, this is like a calm, peaceful song. And then I hummed it a little faster and was like, this is just Old Town Road. Dagnabbit. I was so disappointed. A little more email. A little bit of collar puff on the gambit some sense, so I'm actually going to lean into those lines as intentional. They weren't originally intentional, but they make sense, so we'll keep them. We're actually at a point with the sketch where there's enough sort of in here, the way it ought to be, that I kind of want to shade ideas. I mean, there's plenty that still needs to be tweaked and adjusted and such. But, like, the stinking stance. What's up with the pose? Was the original pose really the top this camera facing? It definitely should have been leaning more into the defense to the left, and the face ought to be looking more that direction too. I'll tweak that. But like, I didn't think the original pose was this stiff. It kind of is. Just okay. The original one, the whole upper thing actually leaned away from it. That's not something that I can easily just tweak in 3 minutes and 45 seconds. So it's certainly something that I can try to do. Let's do that. First off, the eyes, though, ought to actually be looking, the direction of the combat. And make, a little bit of sense. Second, lasso tool, you're getting a workout today, buddy. This might explain some of the shoulder nonsense, too. Oh, wait, no, hold on. And the spear angle. Not gonna worry about the spear angle so much, though. I'm gonna get caught up in this eventually, but... rotate this back a little. More. Leans into the defensive pose more, which I like. It'll get the spear more actively towards something, which I like. We'll have to adjust the head angle a little bit, but I think all in all that looks much better. Thank you for not crashing, CSP. I know that was a big ask. 2 minutes and 16 seconds. Wow, it's crazy to think it still feels somewhat static. Despite everything. Crazy to think that's after tilting it back so much. We can tilt it back a little more, maybe. SP once again, I know, big ask. Getting into it. Really leaning out of it, rather. There we go. Major changes in the last minute and a half. Always a good decision. Never massively regrettable. But we were going to have to do some major adjustments on the spear anyway, so I don't see any major losses with that, other than it being slightly a pain. Gravity on this is going to be a little different, that's fine. It looks like she's actually looking more towards the target, or at least above the shield. This is probably terrible stance, but 23 seconds left. I'm actually not displeased with that. I think that pose is, it's still janky because of the arms. The arms are too splayed, but overall, this has turned out pretty decent for an hour with no planning or thought. Or there was planning and thought. There was plenty on Pinterest, but like, still. Okay. Let's see. I mean, we could keep going, but I'm actually kind of inclined to leave it there for the night. We really don't have practical time to do the inks or anything today, so we'll have to pick that up on Sunday if we do it. Otherwise, it's going to be a little bit of a long break, and I'm sorry about that. But I will try to keep posting stuff and try to keep doodling things. We'll see. We'll see. I'm going to have to wing it because I'm also packing in a few other things, but I think we'll be able to do more. So, I hope to see y'all next time, whenever that is. Don't forget, if you want notifications so you don't have to remember, you can jump into our Discord. We make sure that we've always got the pop-ups on there. And, yeah. Hope to see y'all next time, and I hope y'all have a great week until then. Oh, I still don't have a good outro, y'all. My outro should just be I don't have a good outro. Anyway, good night, or good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good day. Whenever it may be, I hope it's good for you. Bye.